Usually we have 3 awards in this category, and I'm going to call on a very dear friend. Where's Dame Anne Leslie? Anne Leslie, as you know, Chief Foreign Correspondent of the Daily Mail, and a wonderful lady. She was way across the other side of the room. Yeah, Anne. We should have kept you closer. I'll talk a little while she's making her way over here. But Anne is a real star, and actually we travelled to Gaza together one time, Anne and I, on a press delegation, and she was quite remarkable, a real trooper, and remains a real trooper, a very feisty lady. So Anne will present the next award.
Fulsome as ever, William, really. What's fascinating about this award is, as you may have noticed, some of you, that I'm on the right of the political spectrum, and the chap I'm talking about is on the left. But the reason I think this is a wonderful award is because one of the chief jobs of a responsible media, and there's some of us, you know, who are quite responsible, even right-wingers like myself, and truthful, is that you have to look into the causes of human conflict, always. Now, one of the chief causes of conflict is the refusal of the warring parties, warring sides, and sometimes in some conflict zone there are several sides, to recognize the other side as humans, human beings like themselves, human beings who are as frightened as we are, and who fear for their families, their loved ones, their religion, their customs, and they're fearful. The trouble is, the refusal to accept this common humanity is a defensive action, as we know. If you can reduce the other side to inhuman status, Untermenschen, then it's much easier to kill them without a qualm, because they're not really proper human beings. Now, one of course, as we all know, the most enduring causes of conflict in this world is the Arab-Israeli problem, which has been going on for at least 62 bloody years. I've been covering it off and on for about a quarter of a century, and I get more and more depressed each time because, you know, peace plans come and go, and we all rather foolishly think, well, it's all going to work out okay. No, it generally becomes even worse. Now, it seems to me now that so many Israelis, particularly in this government, the Israeli government, regard Palestinians as Untermenschen, not human beings. They are inhuman, uncivilized savages. And the Palestinians, judging by their propagandist press, their education methods, and so on, feel the same about the Israelis, if not more so. Now, tonight we're going to be honoring someone who's fought against this dehumanizing tactic on, in his case, one side of the conflict. He is, needless to say, a very controversial figure in his own homeland, because he stubbornly and bravely keeps swimming against the tide. And the winner is...
5 years now that I try to tell the Israelis or the readers of my newspaper a story that they don't want to hear.
The Middle East, Israel, the United States, you could see ups and downs. Basically, those presidents who were called friendly to Israel were the worst for Israel.
Gideon Levy.
You didn't tell me a word, sitting next to me. Thank you. Never in my life did I dream that a Lord will take the flowers for me. This is a real progress in my life. Anyhow, I'm deeply moved and thrilled by the honor, an honor which I can hardly get in my own country, as you can imagine yourself. You know, there were worse occupations in history than the Israeli occupation. There were more brutal ones, and maybe there were even longer ones, even though the Israeli is now getting to a world record. But there was never, as far as I can recall, an occupation in which the occupier felt so good about himself, and even more so. I don't know one example in history in which the occupier felt as the victim. Not only the victim, but the ultimate victim and the only victim. To go against this narrative in which the Israelis feel so good about themselves and feel as the only victim around is really quite an ungrateful job, which I'm trying to do now for decades almost, with no real success, as you can see. I'm writing and the occupation is just getting deeper and deeper. The settlements are being built. The occupation goes from one phase to the other. Now it's a more relaxed era, but we'll get back very soon, I guess, to the more brutal era. The occupation went also through an era in which it was totally ridiculous, but it is still there to stay. And to tell the Israelis a story which they don't want to hear, which they don't want to know, surrounded by a media, the Israeli media, which I must say here very frankly, I truly believe that without the collaboration of the Israeli media, the occupation would never last so long as it does. A very free media, without any pressure, just the self-censorship of not wishing to bother the readers, not wanting to tell them a story that they don't want to know. You know, many times people introduce me as someone who writes about the Palestinians. I never write about the Palestinians. I'm writing about ourselves, Israelis. I'm trying to tell the Israelis how they look like. I'm trying to tell the Israelis what is being done on their behalf, what the sons of our friends and the friends of our sons are doing on our behalf on a daily basis. And to do so vis-à-vis a media which is dehumanizing on a systematic basis for decades now, the Palestinians, and demonizing them, is really not a very easy job, for sure not a grateful one, but I'm not the story. The story is the Israeli occupation, a very brutal one, a very criminal one, a very long-lasting one, which is being held by a people which, you know, Israelis are not monsters, as most of you might know. Any catastrophe in the world, the Israelis are always the first one to be there. Earthquake in Mexico, in Japan, floods in the Philippines. The Israelis are the first one to build a field hospital, to give some help. Most of the Israelis would help an old lady to cross the road many times, even if she doesn't want to cross the road. Really, people with values. And I keep on asking myself, what happens when it comes to the occupation? How come that those people with values, yeah, one can say with values, turn so different when it comes to the occupation, which is taking place 20 minutes drive from our homes? And the only possible answer is this ongoing process of dehumanizing the Palestinians by the Israeli media, which enables us Israelis to feel so good about ourselves, because Palestinians and human rights don't go together. I wrote once that we treat Palestinians in the checkpoints like animals, and then I got so many protest letters from animal rights organizations in Israel. So to stand in front of all this is not only frustrating, might even be totally ineffective, unimportant. Many times I feel that whatever I write only for the archives. And then comes an evening like this and reminds me that maybe my voice has some kind of clients, if not in Israel, so at least abroad. So I'm really deeply grateful for this opportunity to be here tonight, to get this award. And please forget about anything I said and enjoy your meal. Thank you very much.